Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to, from 2010 all the way through to the present day, whenever that may be, using the Codemasters Formula One games. And you join us in our third season, 2012, round 14, Singapore. And the traditional desperate hunt for points is even more desperate than normal. We've had an absolutely terrible run over the last few races. Essentially dating back to like Valencia, with the exception of Monza last time out. We've got penalties in every round. We've had incidents. We've had poor qualifying. We started from the back in Italy last time out. We've barely been quick enough to outpace Marussia, Caterham, and Pedro Della Rosa in the other HRT. And yeah, the season has just kind of fallen apart since that massive high point of third all the way back in round 2 in Malaysia. And as you can see, we're also losing our rivalry with Daniel Ricciardo. We slipped to 15th in the standings after the last round, so we're now just 3 points ahead of the lovable Australian, but let's take a look at those standings. And as you can see, that 3 points there, 5 ahead of Vern and 10 ahead of Di Resta. Basically, everybody who scored points behind me can still catch me with a few decent points results. At the top of things, though, Fernando Alonso leads the way ahead of Lewis Hamilton with Mark Webber in third. Vettel down in fifth behind Jenson Button. Vettel defending his title, but he's 102 points back. I think we're going to have a non-Red Bull, possibly have a non-Red Bull at the top of the driver's standings at come the end of 2012. Grosjean there in sixth was the fast starter, but has really tailed off since. But he's still beating Kimi Räikkönen, who's seventh, who's had a pretty poor first half of the season, is really on a comeback now, ahead of Rosberg and Massa. Massa, again, another driver who's had a pretty poor half of the season early doors and is just grinding his way back. Maldonado in the top 10, doing really well for Williams. 7 clear of a 7-time world champion in Michael Schumacher, who's 11th. Perez is 12th ahead of Kobayashi. Hulkenberg jumped us in the last round by a point. There we are, as I say, 3 ahead of Danny Rick, 5 ahead of Vern, 10 ahead of Di Resta, and 11 ahead of Bruno Senna in 19th. And that's all the point scorers. Then it's Kovalainen and Petrov, Della Rosa, Glock, Peak, and post-race. If you've watched any episodes from this season, you'll know that Narain Karthikeyan turns up. But because we're not moving teams and we didn't take Pedro's first driver status, he won't be showing up. But he will still come up there. But Pedro is at least beating the Marussias on results alone, which is good, I guess, for HRT. In the Constructors, we're 10th. 6 behind Force India, 7 behind Toro Rosso now, after they got a double point score last time out. McLaren lead the way ahead of Ferrari. Red Bull down in third, their title defence as well as their driver's title defence. Not going so well in 2012. They're way ahead of Lotus, though, who have got a nice little gap to Mercedes behind them, and it's Sauber Williams, mostly through Maldonado, doing really well there in 7th. Toro Rosso, Force India, HRT. And then at the bottom, Caterham and Marussia, who are yet to score and unlikely to score. I think Belgium, they came closest with like a 14th place finish. So we have seen Team Lotus, as it was, Caterham and Marussia, Virgin Racing, score points in the seasons where we've not driven for them, but only just. I think, no, Virgin didn't score a point in 2011, did they? But they did in 2010, because I was driving for them, but also Team Lotus scored in 2010. As did HRT. So there is still the possibility that with a couple of rounds left of this season, they manage to pick up a point somewhere. But at the moment, it does look like they're both on for 0 point scores. But we head to round 14, which is Singapore. And this is, of course, the site of our only point score in 2011. We took a phenomenal 4th place in the Team Lotus. And we also took 10th in 2010 while driving for Virgin, which means that Singapore is the only circuit, as it stands, that we have scored points in both seasons. Literally the only one, Singapore, somehow. Still got the sling, I think, at this point, so we've still got that funny turn 10 to navigate. But we've gone so far backwards in performance over the last few rounds that I'm not entirely sure that run is going to continue. Better get out there and get some practice in, really, hadn't I? See how we're going to fare around the Marina Bay street circuit. While we do, we'll talk about the real world 2012 Singapore Grand Prix. Formula One ended its flyaway races, with round 14 being held at the original night race in Singapore. After his race suspension in Italy, Romain Grosjean returned for Lotus, regaining his seat from Jerome D'Ambrosio. The opening practice session was held in wet conditions, always tricky around a circuit like Marina Bay, with several drivers running off circuit, but miraculously, no one suffered any damage. Sebastian Vettel topped the times, marginally ahead of Lewis Hamilton in McLaren. The second practice session was held in dry conditions, giving everyone some more representative running. Bruno Senna clipped the barrier coming out of the grandstand section, stopping just a corner later with damage. Vettel once again topped the times, this time ahead of the other McLaren of Jenson Button. The final practice session followed a similar pattern as the second, dry running giving everybody a chance to get their setups right for quali. Vitaly Petrov brought the session to an early end, hitting the wall through turn 21 and breaking the right rear suspension of his catering. He stopped at the pit entrance, blocking it completely and bringing up the red flag. But it would once again be Sebastian Vettel at the sharp end ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
Your front wing's taken some slight damage. Stay out unless it's causing you problems.
Qualifying saw a number of teams caught out by the relative performance of the prime and option tyres, which led to several teams having to use a set of the option tyres to make it through. This in turn meant that the usual 6 cars were at the back, joined by Kamui Kobayashi, who couldn't better Senna's lap time even after the Brazilian hit the wall. Senna's day was about to get worse, once again hitting the wall at turn 19, but this time it was terminal and he'd not managed to set a lap time in Q2. Romain Grosjean would also hit the wall but was able to get the car repaired. The other Lotus of Kimi Raikkonen would join Massa in the drop zone at the end of Q2, marking a bad session for the Finn, and a now traditional Q2 elimination for Felipe Massa. Mercedes would choose not to set lap times in Q3, saving tyres for the race, while Lewis Hamilton took pole in his McLaren ahead of Pastor Maldonado, the Williams man having another impressive qualifying session. Vettel could only manage third, ahead of Button and championship leader Fernando Alonso. Hamilton got away from the line well, leading comfortably, while Maldonado got a poor start and fell behind both Button and Vettel to be fourth by the end of the first lap. It'd be a few laps of relative calm though, until lap 9, when Mark Webber took a gamble on an early pit stop. The resultant chain reaction would first see Vettel, then Alonso, and finally Hamilton, all pit between laps 11 and 13, Hamilton rejoining just ahead of Vettel. Hamilton was, however, complaining of a funny feeling in the car. He'd continue for a further 10 laps, before the gearbox in the McLaren failed and put him out of the race. This gifted Vettel the lead after Button came out of the pits behind the Red Bull. The almost inevitable safety car would be called out on lap 30 after Narain Kartikeyan hit the wall at turn 18, eliminating his HRT on the spot. The safety car period would end up being extended. First Maldonado retired with a hydraulic issue a lap after the safety car was deployed, and then a couple of laps later, Schumacher misjudged his braking and crashed into the back of Jean-Eric Vergne's Toro Rosso, both cars retiring there. The safety car returned to the pits after its extended run, and the race settled down to the end. Sebastian Vettel claimed victory ahead of Button and Alonso, while Paul di Resta took a fantastic fourth place after holding off a charging Nico Rosberg, while Raikkonen, Grosjean, Massa, Ricciardo and Perez took the remaining point scoring positions. What will the streets of Singapore hold for us in 2012? Well, this is a circuit that I actually don't feel too bad around, strangely enough, and I know the AI in pretty much every Codemasters games do struggle here. Don't know why, just one of the circuits they're not particularly great at. Just look at 2011 as evidence of that. Despite all of that though, this HRT is really far away from pretty much every other car, so we're really going to need something special to advance. I'm going to have to go conservative. I think we look at our traditional 19th spot, aim fairly low, but hope that there could be some shenanigans and some cars who don't make it round the lap, and see if that helps us gain maybe a couple more spots.
It won't be easy getting out of this qualifying session, but see what you can do.
In the garage then for qualifying in Singapore, practice a bit iffy, but managed to finish ahead of all the other new teams, which is something we've not done for a while. We're actually up in 14th, saw the AI tripping over each other, knocking off front wings. This track is notorious for high drag, low grip, and there are a few times where we just accelerate out of a corner and the rear would go. So we've got to be really careful around here. Hopefully, though, we might be able to do something, at least in amongst the guys that we've been fighting all year. But let's get out there, get some laps in, see what we can do under the lights at Marina Bay. So let's take a look at our fastest lap in Q1, and as you can see, first lap of the session. Really nice entry through turns 1, 2 and 3, a little bit away from the apex on entry, we ride the curve on the exit, slingshot our way down through 4, this little kink to the right before going into 5, and then what is in the modern circuit, the first DRS zone. Get the wing open and just absolutely floor it down here, and the car feeling okay. You can see we're setting 29 in the first sector, not bad. Ride the curb on the inside a little bit, that doesn't unsettle us too much fortunately, and again we can just kind of take it steady. We clip the wall on the exit of that corner in through 8, and we're a little wide through the entry of 9, but again doesn't feel too bad. Car looking pretty decent. We can see yellow flags out on circuit as well. Shouldn't affect us, it's way behind us as we go through 10. A little bit too much of a drift through 12, 11, 12 I think it is, and then maybe a little wide into the hairpin. But again, we can just get the DRS open at this point and just settle in, ready for the next blitz of corners. 109 at the end of the first sector, not looking too bad, or second sector should I say, not looking too bad again, and once again, nice and tidy through that corner. Into this chicane. Car felt like it slipped, maybe trying to spin itself on the first bit of curb, but we're okay as we get into the grandstand. Way away from the walls, they're very easy just to go straight into them, if I'm honest. And then into this chicane near the end of the lap, waiting to get on the power, maybe a touch late. Car tries to over rotate, but when it's around the final corner, taking it maybe just a touch cautiously. But what can this lap do for us?
Great job, we're through to qualifying 2.
And for the first time in 2012, we are in Q2. We managed to make it out of Q1, 14th place. I'm kind of comfortable as well, about half a second clear of Kovalainen, who was eliminated, alongside Petrov, Peak, Della Rosa, Ricciardo, our rivals down there with Timo Glock, and Kimi Räikkönen, who put it into the wall. We've done it. I didn't think we were going to get out of Q1 at all this season. I can't see us getting into Q3, although, well, we 0.3 of a second off Romain Grosjean. One really solid lap here, we might be able to do it. But we are through to qualifying 2 for the first time in 2012. Am I secretly good at Singapore? I've just jinxed that, haven't I? Stay tuned to find out. Let's move into Q2. In the garage then for Q2. For the first time this season, it's taken 14 rounds, but here we are at Marina Bay in the second part of qualifying. Don't think we're going to quite have the pace to pull off a shock top 10. We've also only got one set of new tyres, so it might be a case of going out on some scrubbed tyres first and then hitting it with the new tyres right at the end of the session to see if we can do anything. But anywhere from here is up and a much improved position on everything we've had this season. Let's get out there, run some laps, see how far up the grid we can take our HRT. For the first time in 2012, let's look at our fastest lap in Q2. Running worn tyres here, so not so compliant as we were in Q1 through the first couple of corners. Car trying to break away from us at every opportunity. but we got through it unscathed, not over-rotating the car. Into turn 5 and onto the DRS, nice and easy. Again, car just feeling and looking a little bit sluggish through the corners, but we get down through 6 and into 7. Again, pulling 29s in the first sector. Again, no base lap to compare it to in this session. As we get into 8 and down towards turn 9. A little bit tidier through 8 actually than Q1, and then maybe a little too cautious through 9. Into the Singapore sling as we bounce across the curbs, having to take it cautiously, still feel the car slipping, and then through 11 and 12, really scruffy, really does set us up in the middle of the lap. Into the hairpin, very deep, very, very, very chaotic as we go through there. And as we head down to the end of this straight, it's a 110, so we're slower by the end of sector 2 than we were in Q1. Bounce over the curbs there, feeling like we're trying to make too much time back, doesn't really work for us. And then into this little section towards the grandstand. Again, car just didn't want to stop, didn't want to turn, so we're really having to feather the throttle more than we were in Q1. Into the grandstand again, at least we're tidy here until we exit. We don't get close to the walls there at least. Through this sort of penultimate chicane, car still feeling a little sluggish as we go then into the final corner. Not as cautious as the first part of qualifying, but what will it do for us by the end of Q2? Surprisingly knocked out in Q2, but I don't necessarily think that time was representative of what we could have done. Just couldn't seem to get any decent laps together by the end of it. Just, track got super slippy. But, I mean, we'll start P17. We still made it into Q2. That's still a very small victory for the HRT. We're knocked out with Romain Grosjean, who only just missed out behind Sergio Perez, Pastor Maldonado, Jean-Eric Verne, Bruno Senna, and the two Force Indians of Hulkenberg and Di Resta. And like I said, it still made Q2. Still something I didn't think we were going to do at all this season. And we've managed to at least do it once. This circuit, though, is the only record holder of points in both seasons. Will a slightly higher than normal grid position give us the opportunity to add to that record in Season 3? Let's cross to the race and find out how we get on. Welcome into the garage for the 2012 Singapore Grand Prix P17, our first Q2 appearance of 2012, and there's a little bit of me that thinks maybe our last, but still, we made it. We made it through, that's something. Even if the lap time wasn't particularly representative of the pace I think we might have. 67% chance of rain though. Wet Singapore normally causes chaos, and the AI, in practice and qualifying, found themselves in amongst chaos anyway. You'll see what we mean as we take a look at the standings. It's Jenson Button who took pole position ahead of his championship protagonist teammate Hamilton. Defending champion Vettel up in third, ahead of Alonso and Webber, the other two vying at the top of the title. Kobayashi in sixth, ahead of Rosberg, Schumacher, Massa and Perez. Pretty decent day for Sauber there. Grosjean finished the session 11th, ahead of Maldonado, Verne, Senna, Hulkenberg, Di Resta and ourselves. We're ahead of the Q1 eliminated. Kovalainen, Petrov, Peak, Della Rosa, Ricciardo down in 22nd, ahead of Glock, and Kimi Raikkonen, who didn't even get to set a lap because he put it into a wall. Hence, when I say carnage. We've seen already this season that these mixed conditions races could go really well for a little bit if we get the timing of the tyre change right, or they could go really, really terribly. But you look at a race like Belgium where it was wet all the way through and we settled into a rhythm and we were okay. Granted, the walls here are a lot closer, but maybe, just maybe, we can find ourselves getting a good result. Now, I've mentioned it a couple of times already this episode. Singapore is the only race on the calendar where we've scored points in both visits. A 10th place in 2010 and that phenomenal 4th place last season. Well, it's going to be a big aim here, but it's a street circuit, and if we can make up positions early, maybe we can try and hold some people off. So I'm going to aim to replicate 2010. I'm going to aim for 10th place to try and just get one more point on the board. But if the rain comes and the AI struggle, we might gain a few spots through that. But we've just got to be calm, we've got to be calculated, And especially when that rain comes, we've certainly got to be calm. So let's cross over to the grid for the 2012 Singapore Grand Prix. There are the two McLarens on the front. There we are. Just about to see Danny Rick in the background, but he's behind Pedro de la Rosa. Long run down to turn 1, so we've got to be careful. There's the second light, the third, the fourth, the fifth. Long hold, but away we go in Singapore. Both Caterhams going past. Charles Peake's going to have a go now as well. We'll try and find ourselves a gap, but Hulkenberg kind of blocks us up. Haven't made much gain in the first few corners, but we'll try now. We're in the outside of Di Resta and Verne. Massa's being cut up by his countryman Senna. Oh, we got a little caught up with Romain Grosjean. That's put him into the wall. Oh, that was a late dive, but we'll at least get Massa. Get a little bit caught up with Bruno Senna as well. So far, no pens, amazingly. But there's 10th place, tantalisingly just in front of us. It's Pastor Maldonado. Singapore sling, so easy to just lose the car through this section. They're taking it a bit steady. Maldonado's been held up by the Sauber ahead. Not enough for us to really have a go. But that's okay. P11, a good platform. We're on the primes. Just be cautious early doors. Wide through there. Massa's going to try and up and under, but not really going to have a go into the grandstand section. Very wide through there, and the sort of glue that holds you. We come back on the road maybe just a little dangerously to hold off Massa and Senna, but we end the first lap in P11. A lot of time to Maldonado though. It's okay, just need to keep going. Very distinct cues already, the top 10 and then us, 11 to 22. Like Grosjean lost all of his front wing, same with Senna. Looks like they're both still running.
The car behind has minor front wing damage. Watch out for the car chasing you. He's less than a second behind and will use DRS to overtake.
And I had a brief look at the inside at the end of that DRS zone. Not really going to ever make a move there from that far back. Pace is not necessarily great, but in all the right places at the right time at the moment. Really just trying to be a little bit cautious. Some of these curbs lethal. A little wide into the hairpin. Does that invite Senna through? No, it doesn't. Yellow flag, but it looks like it's behind us rather than in front. Senna's going to definitely have a look here, but we'll just hold him off, and then I think it was Felipe Massa going straight off the road behind us. Lose a bit of front wing.
You've taken some slight damage to the front wing.
Paying too much attention to what's behind us. Two cars out of this race. It was indeed two cars behind us that retired. It was Timo Glock in the Russia and Felipe Massa. We saw the arrow flying off into the abyss behind us. They're out of this one, and we're about 15 minutes away from light rain apparently. I think it's going to come early enough for us to move straight onto Inters, but will certainly make this race an awful lot more interesting. A little bit to Senna there, but the outside at a gap that was not exactly wide.
Full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
DQ's starting to split up here.
Is less than a second. Be aware he may use DRS in an attempt to pass.
And Senna again. He'll go in the outside this time though. He's through. Can we fighting back on the brakes down here? We can try. Well, the inside here, he'll bounce off the wall. Go around the outside at 9 and regain P11. Not overcommitting at any point there, I don't think. Just to make sure that there wasn't contact or penalties. Assume Senna's going to attack again. Here he comes. And he just sort of stay in the middle and he just drives into us. He loses his front wing completely this time.
Weather reports suggest light rain in approximately 10 minutes.
10 minutes to light rain. Senna's going to have to go in now though. Just sort of sat in the middle of the road, if I'm honest. Cars into the pits. Bruno Senna's going to be one of them. Don't know who else is in with him, but whoever it is, now going to be way off the back as we lose the rear and have to take across the chicane. Weird, immediate slowdown the second you go off the track. Still just about stay ahead of Jean-Eric Vergne, but these tyres already feeling pretty ruined. Car's in the pits now though. It's going to matter, I think it won't be too far behind, but one of the cars behind us goes in, Vergne does not. There's Maldonado, and will actually jump the Venezuelan. Vergne, as with one of the Force Indias, Vettel now then, right in front of us. Vergne's going to be all over us. We stay to the outside, we move to the inside as we follow the way the road goes. I'm tempted to come in now, if I'm honest.
Our data's showing that the car ahead's likely to be running in fuel conservation mode. His times will be slightly slower than normal.
And now with these guys, get another set of the prime tyres on and hope that that'll last to the rain. Struggling on them. Front wing change as well. At least if we all come in together, there might be some hold up for some of these guys. We won't lose so many positions because of it.
Weather reports suggest light rain in approximately 5 minutes.
5 minutes to the light rain. We'll come in now then. Get another set of the prime tyres on. Maldonado will regain 10th. Will we get back out ahead of? Just behind Vergne, so we're still getting ahead of Hulk. We only lost one place.
Remember to
Make that 2, there's Durasta. They've gone on to the option tyres, as you'd expect.
I've got a new set of prime tyres on. You only have to stop once now. One stop left.
Caterham were in the pits with us, and Kovaline's behind us, so Petrov came in. Staying with Jean-Eric Verne, although I don't know if that's going to last for too long. Line catching us here. I was expecting him to go in, but I think he's probably already been in. Probably the lead Caterham. We've got Hulkenberg behind him, and then after that it's Ricciardo, our rival. Much like Belgium, maybe not running massively quickly, but running clean for the most part, consistent. To whole station. A few minutes out from rain apparently still. That's when things might get a bit messy. Hopefully more for the AI more than me. A real sign of the rain despite being told it's here already. As soon as I say that though, I'm starting to see drops. And the call right here is going to be crucial. A yellow flag out behind us. It looks like it's Daniel Ricciardo.
Watch out for the car behind. He's only 2 seconds down on you. He might try and overtake if you make a mistake.
Looks like they're all still running back there, but moving slowly. So I think Ricciardo's been in an incident. Rain is falling. Looks like the leaders are going to start lapping people shortly as well, just thanks to that queue being massively held up by whatever the incident was back there. Have a yellow flag that involves some cars up ahead, that would be much preferred, if I'm honest. Aimed big for P10, and we just got there through the pit cycle first time round, won't this time. We're way off the back of Jean-Eric Verne and Paul de Resta, who in turn are way off the back of the guys in the top 10. It's getting slippy.
Intermediate tyres confirmed.
Time. Hulkenberg's got past Kovalainen. Now we've got yellow flags out up ahead.
There's been a crash in sector 3. Yellow flag conditions. No overtaking.
Rear just completely stepping out. It's going to be treacherous out here for half a lap or so. Just going to have to be careful.
The crash in sector 3 has been cleared. Back up to racing speed in sector 3.
Hulkenberg immediately behind us. Kovalainen's fallen back. Only one car came in. Another incident behind us, another yellow flag.
Pedro's just stopped the car. He's dropped out of the race.
Oh, it's Pedro. De La Rosa's out. Flag along here as well. I think Hulkenberg's lost it. He has. Kovalainen now back behind us. And the safety car is out.
Safety car's been deployed. Safety car deployed.
Ideal time to come in then for intermediates, I think.
Crew will ready option tyres for your next
De Resta's in front of. We're getting cars dropping out left, right, and centre. 16 left in this one. We're up to 12th. Is De Resta out? Schumacher's leading. It's like 2011 all over again. Michael Schumacher leading. Anybody else coming in with us? 15 cars left in this race. Kovalainen stays out. Why is it put softs on?
You're free to rejoin the track. The track is clear.
There are 14 cars left in this race. I asked for intermediates. It's brought us out on option tyres.
You have no more scheduled pit stops, so look after your tyres.
I don't know why it's done that.
Intermediate tyres for next box.
Wait, there are 10 cars left in this race. Oh, it's all gone wrong in this. There are 9. This race has crumbled into chaos. We're 13th of 8, apparently.
We think there's a chance of heavy rain in a few minutes' time.
We've hit the wall. This is why.
Your front wings
Wait,
take some slight damage. Stay out unless it's causing you problems.
This is ridiculous. There are 6 cars left in this Grand Prix. Make that 5. I don't know who's left. Overlinen's one of them. There are 4 left. Everybody's crashing out.
Intermediate tyres
This is...
confirmed.
Well, we're definitely going to score points here then. As a Caterham as it stands, who's left in this race? I don't think Hamilton is. I think somebody else has stopped.
Okay, no overtaking allowed.
Just go straight to full wets, I wonder.
Wet tyres for next box.
We've been regaining control. It's now just Perez still is in this race.
The guys have run the
He's
numbers
not.
and we calculate that Rosberg will be pitting within the next 2 laps.
We're finally in the pits. On full wet tyres.
Okay, wet tyres for next box.
So it's Kobayashi, Rosberg. We're in 3rd. Perez is,
Wet tyres for next box.
I think, somehow classified but not. We get a new front wing. We're going out on wet tyres in P3 in a 3-car Grand Prix. This is lap 19.
Track is clear.
I mean, I don't know if full wets are the right call, but I feel like they're going today. The most utterly ridiculous race I've ever seen on a single Formula 1 game ever. Podium confirmed as long as we finish. We're way off the back. Kobayashi, the leader, is in. I'd assume for full wet tyres. I assume Rosberg's going to follow him. This guy's got to wait for us all to catch up. Everybody just falling by the wayside here. This is much like 2011, where we had a huge number of retirements, but this time 21 cars have retired from this Grand Prix. We have a safety car. There are 3 of us left. I am 3rd of those 3. I'm way off the back, but I've just got to catch up now. Kobayashi now up with the safety car. Safety car is in this lap. We're going to be way off the back of these 2, but it's whether they're going to be able to survive.
Start weaving. We need to get some temperature into the brakes and tyres. Be aware, tyres and brake temp is low.
It's whether we can survive here now as well. Singapore in the rain. There we go. That's what I mean. Safety car is returning to the pits. Rosberg's nowhere near Kobayashi. This would be the easiest win of Kamui Kobayashi's career. In fact, I think it would be his first win. Kobayashi starts his 21st lap of the race. He is in the lead by an absolute country mile from Nico Rosberg, who is 43 seconds up the road from us.
The race officials have disabled DRS due to the weather conditions.
There's a yellow flag already, and I think that's Kamui Kobayashi off. And Rosberg takes the lead.
Someone's gone off. We have waved yellows in sector 2.
Kobayashi's out. We're second of 2.
Sector 1 is showing a green flag. Racing conditions through sector 1. The debris has been cleared. Rosberg's out in front.
Now it's all about whether Nico Rosberg can hold himself on the track. And if he can, well, it'll be the easiest win of Nico Rosberg's career. We could be on for a victory just because the AI cannot drive in these conditions at this circuit.
Okay, it looks like the car ahead is trying to create a gap. He's running full revs, maximum power.
Actually going to turn the car down to lead. No point in pushing.
You have quite a bit of spare fuel. We can turn up the engine to mix mode 3 if you need it. Turn fuel to rich.
Rosberg well ahead of us, and I'm not going to be quick enough to catch him, but we've got 10 laps to survive Singapore. It seems to be something that not a lot of the AI have managed to do. Running into a wall isn't going to help me. You may be saying, why don't I just restart and go again? Well, I feel like it'll be a similar sort of result if we were to restart. Just, you could see they couldn't cope with it. Rosberg appears to be in the pits or is just really slow. When we gain time on him through those sectors, we might even be able to find a way to win this race. What's happening to Nico Rosberg? I think he is actually in the pits, you know. There's a one-on-one fight with the Mercedes and future world champion. At least in the real world. May not be able to do it in our series, but yeah, we gained loads of time there. Rosberg deciding to pit in, not sure as to why.
We expect the rain to ease up a bit in around 15 minutes. Be aware.
Rain to ease off in 15 minutes. I don't think that's going to make any difference to the end of this race. Rosberg has pulled the gap out, so yeah, we're not catching the German. Unless, of course, he decides to pit in again or has an incident. Put it into the wall, knock off a bit of front wing.
You've taken some slight damage to the front wing. You should be okay to stay out.
It's a race like this that I kind of wish that F1 2012 had similar replay functionality to the more modern F1 titles, because I'd love to see what happened to everybody. All we know, we only saw Kovalainen sideways and he was then out of the race. The first time in this lap that I have binned it, or come close to.
Intermediate tyres for next
So it
box.
does feel like the
Intermediate tyres.
conditions have changed, so might as well. Rosberg laps me, that at least, you know, makes life a little easier. He will though, but we'll get the inters on.
Intermediate tyres
And the front
confirmed.
wing as well. Only a couple laps left of this one. Just got to keep it out of the wall now for a couple more.
You're free to rejoin the track. The track is clear.
So it depends if Rosberg decides to pit as well. As we, yeah, fair. We get a penalty
Looks like the stewards
straight
have
off the
awarded you a
track.
time penalty.
Maybe it's not time for intermediates.
You've picked up some marbles. Expect reduced grip until you can wear them off. Stay on the racing line.
We'll still come out of this one with a penalty. We're definitely going to finish a lap down because I'm going to need to pit for a new front wing. He bounced off the wall there for a minute. I thought it was all over. You get points, I think, for completing more than 90% race distance, so it's okay, but yeah. Back in we come then. Rosberg will probably put a lap on us here. You know what, I'm alright with that.
Options confirmed for your next box.
And if he doesn't put a lap on us, then we'll just about hold him out, because he's... I think he might be struggling on his wet tyres now as well, you know. Let's see, yeah, he really is. In fact, it almost looked like he'd stopped there. It's done that thing where it's put me on options again.
The track is clear. Track is clear.
I don't know why it's put me on options.
I think this might be our finishing position today, so don't take any risks. Bring the car home.
There goes Nico Rosberg. So this is our final lap, and we'll be doing the final lap on the option tyres, because despite the fact I selected intermediates for the second time this race, decided just to put me on option tyres. We're going to finish a lap down to the only other car on track as we spin. Why did it put me on? So Singapore in these conditions, really glitchy. But you know what? I'm not going to let that worry me too much. We're going to come home for P2 as long as we keep it on the road. So this is going to be the slowest final lap. We're also going to come home with a penalty, amazingly.
The car ahead is a lap up on us. We're not going to catch him, so let's focus on our own race.
The rain has actually stopped, and there's a semi-dry line. Intermediates were the right call. If I'd not just gone straight off out of the pits, is this why it put option tyres on? 'Cause there's a bit of a dry line, I wonder. I think it did, you know. I think that's the entire reason it's put dry tyres on, because there's a bit of a dry line and the rain has stopped. But that doesn't matter. Nico Rosberg is going to come home for the easiest victory of his career with only one other finisher. It's like Monaco 1997 all over again. He didn't get through it penalty free, that's for sure. But that I don't mind so much, because we actually got through it. More than can be said for pretty much the rest of the field. Nico Rosberg wins. We're going to come home for an incredibly lucky P2 result. We drift round the final corner, lose a bit of the front wing, but we will cross the line. There we go, P2.
Great race, just fantastic. 18 points.
So that's P2, a lap down with a 20-second penalty to only Nico Rosberg. Everybody else, Kobayashi, Perez, Maldonado, Webber, Hamilton, Raikkonen, Schumacher and Vettel, all DNF, but finish in the points or get points despite the fact they all DNF'd. Kovalainen's 11th, he just misses out on points. Ahead of championship leader Fernando Alonso, who's going to lose a bit of ground, well, lose a little bit of his gap. Then it's Verne, De Resta, Charles Pic was 15th in the Marussia, Grosjean 16th, Hulkenberg 17th, Senna, Ricciardo, Petrov, Massa, Glock, Button and Della Rosa, disqualified Button and Della Rosa, not even DNF'd. That was a race. That was a race that happened. What does that mean for the stand-ins? The gap is now only 12 between Alonso and Hamilton. Webber 43 behind. Jensen 60 points behind. Maybe just out of this one. and Vettel very much on the cusp of being out. He's 101 points down still. Then it's Rosberg, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Maldonado in 9th, Massa 10th, Schumacher 11th, Perez. Rosberg, at least with that win, puts him a little closer to Sebastian Vettel and has him jump both Lotuses. But yeah, Kamui Kobayashi 13th. We jump back up to 14th, 10 points behind Kamui, and 17, I think, clear of Hulkenberg. Then it's Ricciardo, still in 16th ahead of Verne, then De Resta, Senna, Kovalainen, Peak, Petrov, De La Rosa, Glock, Carter, Kayan, the rest of your non-point scorers. And in the Constructors, McLaren 72 clear of now Red Bull, who, thanks, I think, more down to Mark Webber being classified slightly higher, puts themselves in second, just 7 clear of Ferrari. Lotus 206 points off. They're not going to win the Constructors, but they're 10 clear, or 6 clear, sorry, of Mercedes. We've got a little gap to Sauber. Again, a little gap to Williams. We jump back up to P8. 11 points clear of Toro Rosso, 12 clear of Force India, and 33 clear of Caterham and Marussia. So there's absolutely no way, I don't think, either of those teams catching in the remaining few rounds of this season. And Singapore continues its record. 3 races, 3 point scores, 1 podium, 1 fourth, and 1 10th. Sure, 2011 and 2012, both, I'd say you can probably consider luck. We had a few retirements in 2011 that elevated us up the order. In fact, had us leading at one point, and then we just fell back through pace and pit stops. Here, we were running 13th. We had 2 pit stops where we selected either an intermediate, well, in both pit stops we selected an intermediate tyre, and both times sent out on the options for some unknown reason. And somehow we still come away P2 because 22 drivers DNF'd, or 20 drivers DNF'd, 2 drivers were disqualified. And, well, if Rosberg had gone into the back of Kobayashi when Kobayashi went out, can you imagine we would have taken a victory with no competition? It's never going to be that easy again in all of the rest of this series, that's for sure. But we end this one with a P2, a podium, and more points on the board. What an insane Singapore Grand Prix. Thank you so much for watching. Join us for the next one. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. Not many rounds left, but another podium finish on the board. Bye for now.